It is no accident that the practice of silence has always been common in the monastic environment, the monastic setting, and in ashrams and spiritual groups, and even in churches. It's no accident that churches have always been a place of silence, a place of quiet, where people can go and retreat into silence and stillness. And the reason is because awareness itself, pure consciousness, resonates with silence. It is, in fact, silent, just as it is motionless, still. And it is equally so, it is intangible and invisible. It's invisible to the five senses and even to the mind, although the mind can think about it. Awareness as an actuality or reality is imperceptible to the mind. The mind can only surround it with its idea as a concept. And another reason silence is practiced is because one of the most difficult things is to remain present, to remain consciously aware when we talk. There's a strong tendency when talking for awareness to collapse into the words that are being spoken, and in that process to get projected as an identity and to be appropriated as this feeling of a person speaking. We then become someone who has information to share or who has opinions and points of view, and it gives our identity a certain kind of power. Another way to say it is that when we start talking, we take on this feeling of existing. I exist. Now there's identity. There's me as a person. And I now take on form as a person. And awareness is actually behind this and making this possible. It's enlivening the person, but it gets appropriated as this feeling of me. And this tendency of awareness to be drawn out of itself and to collapse into a feeling of being the person is true not only when we're talking, but it's true with our movements, as well as our sensations and our emotions. In other words, it's true of all four centers. Awareness collapses almost immediately out of itself and into the manifestation of our four centers, and in the process takes on the feeling, the shape, the form, the sense of identity as a person. And this is the illusion that Eastern teachings refer to, this illusion of identity. Yes, the person is there. We are this person talking and moving and so on. But the illusion is the feeling of identity, the feeling of I, which is, its source is actually awareness, but its manifestation is through the four centers, and then the four centers appropriate that as a feeling of identity, and we mistake that as who we are, instead of awareness recognizing itself as itself. This tendency of awareness to immediately and perpetually collapse out of itself and be appropriated by the body and mind, by the four centers, and then to be projected as a sense of identity. And this sense of identity is projected foremost within ourselves, within our mind. And then it gets simultaneously projected outward to other people and in ourselves in relation to the world. And this sense of identity grows stronger, establishes itself as an entity in relation to other people and in relation to the world, and loses awareness in the process, loses the recognition of itself as the source of all this consciousness of things. And this, the fourth way, calls identification. And it refers to awareness attaching itself immediately to thoughts, movements, sensations, emotions, the outside world, other people, events, immediately attaching, and in the process collapsing out of itself. And this attachment and this collapse resulting in full-blown identity, hence the name identification. Awareness has lost itself and has formed as a sense of identity in the human being. And what the fourth way refers to as self-remembering is what all spiritual teachings have always pointed to, and that is the process of awareness reversing its tendency to lose itself, to collapse out of itself, to become appropriated by all these forms, thoughts, words, movements, sensations, emotions, and to retain recognition of itself. And instead, another way to say it is that instead of awareness, with self-remembering, instead of awareness now collapsing out of itself and being drawn into everything else, what happens is with self-remembering is everything else now is drawn into awareness and collapses into awareness. And now the sense of identity in everything dissipates, dissolves, reconstitutes as awareness.